You've heard of plane crashes, but this one didn't just end in tragedy, it turned ordinary people into legends. This is the story of Flight 571, the day the Andes swallowed a plane and revealed the darkest side of survival. Could you survive 72 days trapped in the Andes? Comment your answer below. We're reading every one. In October 1972, a chartered Uruguayan Air Force plane carrying a young rugby team and their friends disappeared over the Andes Mountains, one of the most dangerous mountain ranges on Earth. The weather was brutal, the visibility near zero. When the plane vanished from radar, no one imagined what these passengers would endure next. This story isn't just about a crash. It's about faith, friendship, and the unthinkable choice that shocked the entire world. So sit tight, because this is one of the most extraordinary survival stories in human history. On October 12, 1972, Flight 571 took off from Montevideo, Uruguay, heading toward Santiago, Chile. 45 people were on board, young athletes, friends, family, and crew. It was supposed to be a routine 2-hour flight, but deep over the Andes, the pilots miscalculated their position. They began to descend, thinking they had cleared the mountains. They hadn't. The aircraft slammed into a ridge, tearing apart instantly. The tail broke off. The wings were ripped away. Snow exploded through the cabin. When it finally stopped sliding, the plane's body lay like a broken toy on a frozen mountain plateau. 12 people were dead. Dozens were badly injured, and they were stranded in one of the harshest environments on Earth, with no food, no heat, and no hope of rescue. But here's where things get strange. When the world gave up searching, these survivors refused to die. For 10 days, rescue planes flew overhead and missed them. Snow covered the fuselage. From the air, it looked like just another patch of ice. Then, on the 11th day, they heard a radio broadcast. The search had been officially called off. No one was coming. Temperatures dropped below minus 30 degrees centigrade. Their rations ran out. They tried melting snow for water. They prayed, and they waited for help that would never come. By the third week, starvation began to set in. The human body can only last so long without food, and that's when they made the hardest decision imaginable. To stay alive, they would have to eat the flesh of their dead friends. They cried, they hesitated. Many refused at first, believing it was unforgivable. But eventually, hunger and desperation forced their hands. They said prayers for the souls of the fallen and consumed what nature left behind, not out of cruelty, but out of a will to survive. This act, though horrifying, was born out of faith, not savagery. And in the frozen silence of the Andes, it gave them strength to keep fighting. Weeks passed. Avalanches buried the fuselage twice, killing 8 more. Only 16 remained alive. 2 men, Nando Parado and Roberto Canessa, decided that salvation would not come from above. It had to come from within. They packed a small bag of supplies, wrapped themselves in rags, and began a 10-day climb through the mountains with no map, no proper gear, and no clue where they were. For 10 days they walked, freezing, starving, hallucinating, until finally, on the 10th day, they spotted a river and a Chilean shepherd on horseback. With the last of his strength, Nambo shouted across the valley. The shepherd threw them food, and the next day, help arrived. On December 23, 1972, 72 days after the crash, helicopters reached the crash site. 16 men were pulled from the jaws of death. When the story broke, the world was horrified and fascinated. Cannibalism in the Andes, the headline screamed. But as details emerged, the public's anger turned to awe. These were not monsters. They were heroes who had looked death in the eye and lived. Today, the story of Flight 571 stands as one of the greatest survival tales ever told. It asks us the hardest question imaginable. How far would you go to stay alive? Would you endure the cold? Would you face hunger? Would you break the ultimate taboo if it meant seeing your family again? Their courage and their pain remind us that the line between life and death isn't moral, it's human. This was the miracle of the Andes, a story of faith, desperation, and the will to survive against impossible odds. But this was just one forgotten chapter of modern history. Next week, we'll uncover another hidden tragedy, one buried deep beneath American soil, a story even darker and more mysterious. If you love forgotten American history and the stories that test the limits of humanity, subscribe, because what's coming next will change the way you see history. This was just one forgotten disaster. Want to hear about the next hidden American tragedy? Subscribe. It's coming next week.